The big news this afternoon for the second time this season is that Nick Saban has tested positive for COVID. Unfortunately, there are some differences between this situation and the one prior to the Georgia game that will keep Nick Saban off the field, off the sidelines, and at home quarantined this Saturday for the Iron Bowl.
Absolutely. This time around, according to a press release from the University of Alabama, and this came from Dr. Jimmy Robinson and athletic trainer Jeff Allen, he is experiencing, by he, referring to Nick Saban, he is experiencing some mild symptoms of COVID. So Coach Saban is in isolation. He is at home. He is inside of his personal bubble right now. But like he did the first time during the week of the Georgia game, though that test became a false positive, but he has still appointed Steve Sarkisian to be the one to lead the program in the 85th Iron Bowl against Auburn.
Well, let's talk about the football game with Steve Sarkisian on the sideline leading the troops into battle in the Iron Bowl. This is unlike any other spectacle in college football played in Tuscaloosa this year. A 3-4 record does not necessarily impress anyone unless you really understand the landscape of Auburn, Alabama, and that nobody has had that kind of record of success against Nick Saban since he's been in Tuscaloosa, but Auburn winning 3 of the last 7 since Gus Malzahn's been on the Plains. Your thoughts about the recent games?
The recent games, they have all been wild, Mark. All of the recent games have been wild here in this rivalry. I mean, especially going back to the 2017 matchup always kind of catches my attention because of the fact that, Jalen Hurts kind of put up strong numbers statistically, but the idea was, is he limiting Alabama's offense? Is he hampering Alabama's passing game? If a Tide not able to have that balance to stretch the field vertically as it would like to, if it in that game against the Tigers, Kerryon Johnson, went off 30 carries for 104 yards, 1 touchdown. And then, of course, Jarrett Stidham had 12 carries for 51 yards and a score to his credit. The Auburn defense put the clamps on Alabama. Jalen Hurts could not do anything out there on the field, and Auburn gets the 26-14 win. And, of course, it went on to play for the SEC championship. Now, of course, Georgia won that game, but Auburn was involved in that match. It's been some wacky games in the last recent years, but that 2017 matchup always pokes out to me as the one where Alabama offensively could not establish any type of creativity, and Auburn was just handing the ball off to Kerryon Johnson and took full control pace of that game.
Mark, and in this season, unlike any other, this is an Iron Bowl unlike any other, to be quite frank with you. We've had the season started late. Normally, the Iron Bowl is the final regular season game of the season. That won't be the case this year. Alabama's going to try to play 2 games after the Iron Bowl, and then hopefully the SEC championship game. We've had incredibly warm weather all through November, so it feels like, it's felt like summer. So just the idea that it's Thanksgiving this week and the Iron Bowl is, we're trying to get that through our heads anyway. Then you add in that the stadium, Bryant-Denny Stadium, is going to be at 20% capacity on Saturday. And now, of course, the huge news today that Nick Saban has tested positive for COVID-19. This is not a false positive. He is exhibiting mild symptoms. He will not coach in the game on Saturday. Steve Sarkisian will be in charge. So it's the oddest Iron Bowl in history, and it just continues to get more strange.
So, Gary, I think you hit upon the key factor in determining the difference between the Saban situation with COVID a few weeks ago, in which he then was allowed to play or allowed to coach, of course, on Saturday, versus what's happening this week.
Absolutely. Against Georgia, he had no symptoms at all, and he felt great. So they continued to test him throughout the week. And then when he got that third negative test on Saturday morning, they flew the sample down to Mobile. They got it back, and he was on the sideline coaching that night. That won't be the case here. They've already ruled out a false positive. He is out. He is in quarantine. He's at home. In fact, I just got off a Zoom call with him and other media members just a short time ago, and he said, he's going to continue to work from home. He will watch practice. He will have coaches' meetings. But once the game starts, he will not be able to have any contact at all It'll be Steve Sarkisian's game. Of course, he calls the plays anyway as the offensive coordinator, but he will be in charge of making all of the in-game decisions in regards to whether Alabama goes for it on fourth down,
Unfortunately,
any of those type of things. He'll be the head coach for that game.